So raise your hand if you've ever had anything bad happen to you. Gordon?
Good evening. I'm Ewan Gillen, and this is Masterpiece Church. Welcome. Theodicy. No, we're not talking about an epic poem written by Homer. No, not that Homer, the other Homer. No, theodicy is a word we use when we're spending time wrestling with the question of evil. If God is good, why is there evil? Where did it come from? What do we do with it? In this series, Doubt Not Just for Thomas, we have introduced the idea that asking questions and wrestling with doubt and uncertainty is a part of faith. We looked at Thomas, the doubting, questioning, believing disciple of Jesus. And then we turned our attention to miracles, as we pondered whether or not they exist and what exactly makes up a miracle. Tonight we continue to ask questions as we tackle theodicy, as we ask, why is there evil? Why do bad things happen? We are joined in that conversation by Zach Van Arkel, Gordon Packard, and Terry Burkett. So let's join in as Gordon explains why he did not raise his hand.
I wish you wouldn't ask that question. There are certainly things I wish had not happened to me. But when I look across my life, the good things, the blessings, the things which have helped me understand who I am and what human existence is about and what faith is, have come from those moments that were disturbing to me, and some would have called bad, but in fact are the building blocks of what makes me see my life in a more joyful perspective.
So, can we define evil? What is evil?
I would say evil, as I would define it, is anything that pulls you away from God. In a simple definition. At its simplest form, I would say anything that turns you away, pulls you away from God.
I guess I see sin as being estranged from God and pulling us away, but I don't necessarily think that sin is what I define as evil. Evil to me is someone or something that is consciously goes out of their way to do things to others or to our environment without any consequences. And I don't know how to put it any better than that.
Evil is that which separates us from one another. Evil is that which drives one to think that their views and their understandings are utterly true and that everybody must see their perspective and not only see it but accept it as being the true perspective. Evil's tied up in that concept of an individual who begins to look so narrowly at life that they begin to see themselves as the epitome of good, of what is right. And that is, in my mind, pure, simple evil.
Do you think evil exists outside of the human race? Like in nature? Or is it just
Well,
you know what I mean?
it's a good question, Zach. When a predatory animal goes after and destroys an animal or a group of animals that are not doing anything to that predator at all, is that evil outside the human experience?
But then I think about cowbirds, who, bless their hearts, are not set to be parents. So they put their eggs in other people's nests. And sometimes those other poor nestlings, eggs that hatch with them, end up being killed because the cowbird is so much bigger than what they are. So I don't know, do you call that evil, or do you call that's what cowbirds do?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Wow. So, just like miracles, you're telling me that pinning down what precisely is evil is a difficult process. I don't know. I guess my next question is, why? Why is there evil?
I guess my first thought when we were asked why is there evil was to think that there's evil so that we can see good or see love or whatever you want to use as the opposite of evil. And I think that's why evil happens, if I had to come up with an answer, is to show that good also comes out of evil.
So, does God cause evil?
No. Well,
I don't think
God-
God causes evil, but God allows evil.
right. And he gave us free will. He didn't sit there and say, okay, this is what you have to always do or whatever. He gave us the ability to make decisions and to decide which way we want to go.
What do you think, Gordon?
Again, evil is a very difficult thing to define. It is contextual in many ways, but not totally. The sorrow of the human experience, it seems to me, is our inability to combine things, to look at all aspects of life, to look at what has made life rich, and to see those things that have been bad or evil, however we want to use the words, have contributed to the richness of life. Was it evil that killed Christ on the cross? I don't believe so. Were those who permitted it to happen, in fact encouraged it happening, simply evil men? I doubt it.
Has there ever been a time when you have seen evil or experienced evil and there's ever not been good? When it's just pure evil and there's no good coming from an event?
Your question's fair, Zach. It really is. I would have to say for myself that there's probably nothing I can define as purely, without any reservation, purely evil.
So, what do we do with all this? Good, bad? Evil is hard to define. Nothing seems to be all one or all the other. What do we do with all this?
Gordon, Terry, Zach, how do we as faithful people of God respond to evil?
My response to it can only be defined by me as what I would like it to be. I cannot say that it is. I would like to believe that in my struggles in life and with people, that I am committed and that I in fact do seek to find a common understanding That does not mean agreement, but a common understanding of where we are and where we can respect each other, both in our agreements and in our disagreements.
When I was much younger, I went to Atlanta, Georgia with the Mennonites in their volunteer service program. I happened to get to Atlanta as an elementary school teacher right after they had been ordered by the courts to desegregate their teaching staffs. I was placed in an inner city all-black school. But at least by kind of going and trying to get to know my students and trying to get them to know me and letting them know that I came willingly. I wasn't forced to be there. I felt like maybe I stood a little bit to help further the cause. I think I learned much more than my students necessarily did. But I think at the same time, at least they could see I was willing to be there. Sometimes I think you just have to do that.
So the original question is, what do we do with evil? With evil, I would say you have to find, even if it's the smallest amount of hope or the smallest amount of good in that evil, you somehow have to find it and cut through a bunch of evil and find it no matter the cost. There are times when we will see evil, but
our struggle in everyday life and our struggle in relationships is finding the way in which we can implement the movement toward the answer.
gotcha.
And if we do too much in saying evil, good, then we're not going to be very effective at producing a movement toward an ultimate answer. Hope and faith and love, to me, always pushes toward the possibility.
Evil is real, but evil is also hard to pin down. Why is it here? I don't think we'll ever find an answer, but wrestling with the question is still worthwhile. Perhaps our best bet is struggling to find God in the midst of evil or bad things that happen. What do you think? How are you wrestling with these very difficult questions? Talk to others about it. Think on them yourself. And remember, your questions are the foundation to faith. This is Evangelion. Thanks for joining us today on Masterpiece Church. Come back next time as we try to understand the Bible in our series, Doubt, Not Just for Thomas.